I found out my husband and my affair partner had made a deal 6 months after I left my marriage. And the worst part? The deal had been about me. Neither man had told me. Not my husband. Not the man I'd betrayed him with. I only discovered it because I found an old email that was never meant for me. It contained 3 sentences. I'll give you 6 months. If she comes back to me, I'll let her go. If she doesn't, you leave her alone. I read those words over and over. Then I saw the name at the bottom. My husband's. My name is Rachel. My husband's name is Michael. The man I had an affair with was Tyler. And for 6 months, those two men had been making decisions about my future while I had no idea. Michael and I had been married for 12 years. We met in college. He was the quiet one, the responsible one, the man who always had a plan. I used to joke that he probably planned his dreams before going to sleep. He'd laugh. I loved that about him. At least, I used to. Somewhere around our 10th anniversary, I started feeling restless. Our life felt repetitive. Wake up, work, dinner, television, sleep, weekend errands, repeat. Michael called it stability. I called it suffocating. Then Tyler joined my department. He was everything Michael wasn't. He was spontaneous. He traveled without planning. He made jokes at inappropriate times. He sent me flowers just because. And he made me feel like I was being seen for the first time in years. The first time he touched my hand, I pulled away. The second time, I didn't. The affair began quietly. Lunches, messages, long phone calls, then hotel rooms. I became obsessed with the feeling. Not necessarily Tyler, the feeling of being wanted. I started coming home later. I stopped talking to Michael. I became irritated whenever he asked where I'd been. Eventually, he knew. He found a message from Tyler. 1 sentence. I wish you were here. Michael confronted me that night. He didn't shout. He didn't threaten Tyler. He simply asked, "How long?" I cried, 7 months. He looked at me. Do you love him? I said yes. Michael nodded. Then he asked, do you want to leave? I whispered, yes. He looked devastated, but he didn't stop me. 3 weeks later, I moved into Tyler's apartment. I thought I'd won. For the first few months, I was convinced I'd made the right decision. Tyler took me on trips. We went out constantly. We stayed up until 2 in the morning talking. Everything felt exciting. Then 6 months passed. The excitement disappeared. Tyler became irritated by the same things he'd once found charming. He complained about my spending. He hated my family. He didn't want the quiet weekends I had started craving. And suddenly, I missed Michael. I missed the life I'd called boring. I missed Sunday mornings. I missed our grocery store arguments. I missed the way Michael always made coffee before I woke up. I never told Tyler, but he noticed. One night he asked, do you miss him? I lied. No. Tyler looked at me. You're a terrible liar. I said nothing. A week later, Tyler disappeared for an entire afternoon. When he came back, he looked strange. Where were you? He took off his jacket. Meeting someone. Who? He looked at me. Michael. My heart stopped. What? I met your husband. I stared at him. Why? Tyler didn't answer. Why would you meet him? Because I needed to. I felt sick. What did you talk about? Us. I couldn't believe it. What did he say? Tyler sat down. He asked me if I was happy. And? I told him I was. Tyler looked away. But I wasn't. I sat across from him. What else? He asked me if you were happy. What did you say? Tyler laughed bitterly. I said I didn't know. Then he told me something I never expected. Michael had made him an offer. Not money, not revenge. Something much stranger. Michael had told Tyler, "Give her 6 months." Tyler stared at me. "If she chooses you after 6 months, I'll never contact either of you again. And if she doesn't, then you leave her alone." I couldn't breathe. You agreed? Tyler nodded. Why? Because I thought you'd choose me. My eyes filled with tears. Michael knew? Yes. He knew I'd start missing him? Tyler shook his head. No. He knew you'd eventually have to decide what you actually wanted. I couldn't speak. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the deal. 6 months. 6 months in which my husband had willingly stepped aside. 6 months in which he hadn't called, hadn't begged, hadn't interfered. He'd simply waited. And Tyler had agreed. But now, the 6 months were almost over. 3 days later, Tyler told me he was leaving. I panicked. What? He packed his clothes. Tyler, where are you going? He didn't look at me. I lost. What are you talking about? The deal. I stared at him. I didn't ask you to make that deal. I know. Then why are you leaving? He looked at me. Because you already chose. I started crying. I never said that. You didn't have to. He picked up his bag. You started talking about Michael without realizing it. You started comparing everything to him. You started asking what he was doing. And last week? He paused. You asked me if he was seeing someone. I looked down. I had. Tyler shook his head. That's when I knew. He walked toward the door. I grabbed his arm. Did Michael tell you to leave? No. Then why? Tyler looked at me. Because I finally understand the deal. What deal? The deal wasn't between Michael and me. I froze. It was between you and yourself. Then he left. I called Michael. He answered. Rachel? Why? He was silent. Why did you make that deal with Tyler? I didn't make a deal with him. You did. Tyler told me. Michael sighed. Then he misunderstood. What do you mean? I wasn't giving him 6 months. I froze. Then what were you doing? Michael's voice was quiet. I was giving you 6 months. I couldn't speak. 6 months to figure out whether you were actually happy. You didn't want me back? Of course I wanted you back. Then why didn't you fight for me? He paused. Because you had already made your choice. But you knew I'd come back. No. I hoped you would. There's a difference. I started crying. Did you ever hate me? Michael took a long breath. Yes. That answer surprised me. Sometimes. But I loved you too. Both things can be true. I closed my eyes. Do you still love me? Another silence. Rachel. Please. I love who you were. My heart sank. But I don't know who you are anymore. I didn't know what to say. Then Michael said something I'll never forget. You thought I was competing with Tyler. I wasn't. I was waiting to see whether you were running toward him or just running away from me. I cried for a long time after that because I finally understood. I'd spent 6 months thinking 2 men were fighting over me. They weren't. One man was waiting for me to make a choice. The other was waiting to see if I'd regret mine. And neither one could make the decision for me. I moved out of Tyler's apartment. I didn't immediately go back to Michael. I wanted to, desperately. But I knew that returning to him simply because Tyler had left would be another selfish decision. So I lived alone. I went to therapy. I rebuilt relationships with my family. I learned how to be alone without immediately searching for someone to fill the silence. 6 months later, I called Michael. Can we have dinner? He agreed. We met at the restaurant where we'd celebrated our 5th anniversary. We talked for 3 hours. About everything. The affair, the marriage, the resentment, the things we'd both ignored. At the end of the night, I asked, "Do you think we could ever try again?" Michael looked at me. I don't know. For the first time, I didn't try to convince him. I simply said, "Okay." He smiled. "That's the first honest answer you've given me in a long time." We didn't get back together that night, or the next month, but we started talking, slowly. Eventually, we started dating again. Not because Tyler lost, not because Michael won, because I finally understood that love wasn't supposed to be a competition. Years later, I asked Michael whether he regretted making that deal with Tyler. He laughed. "I still don't think it was a deal." "What was it?" He looked at me. "A boundary." Then he said, "I wasn't going to spend my life fighting another man for someone who wasn't sure she wanted me." I nodded. And I finally understood. My husband and my affair partner had made a deal. But the real deal was the one I had to make with myself. I had to decide whether I wanted excitement or peace, whether I wanted attention or love, whether I wanted someone to make me feel wanted, or whether I wanted to become someone who knew her own worth. And for the first time in my life, I chose without running away. I chose myself. And eventually, I chose Michael.